The new can caps arrived for this JCM900 SLX 100 watt, and so it's time to get started. And I've shown this process in detail in other videos. I'm just gonna show the before and after. So black and red going here. I guess that's black, maybe a brownish. That's joined. Then green to green. That doesn't go to chassis on this model. Goes to the board, then through R36, which is a 22 ohm resistor, and then to chassis. It's something they did in this series that I'm not a big fan of, but to explain it would just take too long, and I need to get this amp done so I can get some other amps done. 2 blues and a yellow here. And my goal is, when finished, for this to look almost indistinguishable from how it is now, though the caps, the F&Ts, have a slightly different look than the old LCRs. Anyway, time to get started. All right, all these are in place, very solid. Got some 18 gauge bus wire here bridging these two. It might have been 20 gauge, it felt like 18 gauge. It was not in the package anymore, just because if I try to reuse the brown wire that was spanning that, it just get kind of yucky looking. And that's very solid. So let me put this rear board back in place and see what that bought us. Well, after recapping, all the hum and buzz is gone, and the oscillation no longer occurs. I mean, I can make it squeal if I get at the highest gain and I'm standing a foot from the amp with the pickups, and no shielding over everything here, but that's pretty normal. So the major woes are all cured, but here's where we're at now. So I'm not done, but compared to how it was when it came in, with all the burning bridge rectifiers, leaking bulging caps, and the mains filter caps, the two I just changed, causing all kinds of hum and buzz and oscillation, it's, you know, a million times better, but I'm not sure it's gig ready yet. So let me do some thinking and some more testing, and let's get this thing gig ready. In poking around, I noticed this 100K resistor here, R28, with 5881s, it's supposed to be 56K. With EL34s, which this amp has, it's supposed to be 47K, and someone changed it to 100K. So that would explain the very, very cold bias and the grainy, nasty sound I'm getting. So let me change out that resistor and revisit the sound of this amp. All right, after I changed R28 to the proper 47K, it was way, way too crazy hot. It's because someone had changed R28. Well, actually, it wasn't changed. The factory had put in a 27K instead of a 10K. So I don't know what's up with that. So it's back to the 10K, 47K shown on the schematic, and the tubes are biasing properly. Let me flip this over, and I may roll some preamp tubes. We're gonna see how this sounds now. All right, I'm a lot happier with it now. I think it's sounding the way it ought. It's not really two different channels, it's just two different master volumes. So wherever you set the preamp and the gain sensitivity, and I'll show that a little bit, both channels have the same thing, just different output levels. So we're on A, which is what you get if you don't have a foot switch hooked up. So it's mostly useful for like a solo boost. It doesn't really change the thing. So the way this works, this is a traditional volume pot. This is one wired with a series resistor in front of it, which takes the place in most Marshall-esque circuits. You just have a fixed voltage divider. It would have been a little more effective, I think, if they'd wired it as a variable resistor as the bottom half of that voltage divider. But they did not. That would also give you, there's trade-offs in terms of the affecting the low end response doing it that way. But so if you have the sensitivity low, that's about as much gain as you get out of the preamp. As you turn sensitivity up, it begins to get more gain out of the preamp. The more you turn the sensitivity up, the more mushy it's going to get. So you can do real high sensitivity. You're going to have to use slightly lower preamp volume stuff. Or it loses the attack. Now, I may be clipping the lav mic on this stuff. I can't control that, sorry. Let me do it at lower master volumes. At higher sensitivity, this gets mushy. It's hard to demonstrate this because you have to change all three together to get it. So I would recommend not maybe turning this above maybe 2 o'clock unless you want a really saturated thing without much definition to the attack. And then you get... You can also keep this in a little bit more traditional Marshall range, use a little less of the master volume. So overall, a pretty versatile amp as long as you're not trying to get a clean and a dirty sound out of it. You basically get whatever you get at different output volume levels. Due to the nature of the gain in this and how much there is, I don't think it's going to respond that well to backing off the volume on the guitar, but let's try that real fast. Not too bad. There's just always so much white noise if you roll your guitar down. Live, you could get away with some stuff that you want to do in the studio. But, you know, that's cool. Whatever. This thing is now very healthy. All the preamp tubes seem fine. This one, first one's a little microphonic. That happens in a high gain amp. But that's only if you tap on it. It's not ringing out sympathetically. I don't think it's going to be a problem once it's all mounted back on the head. So I'm going to let these tubes cool off, put the retainers in place, finish up putting some hardware on the rear panel back in the cab, and it'll be good to go.